Round 2 has begun. We're kicking it off. We're seeing what we got.
Lucan's going first.
Yep.
3 dice, sidekick, and 2 energy. I think that was literally exactly what he wanted. He buys a misdirection, and he has a character in the field, so he can very quickly, once this misdirection comes through, he can very quickly move something from used, swap it with a character in the field zone.
So on Robert's roll, looks like he's going to try and keep that bolt, maybe?
He's got it set aside.
All 3 of those, maybe just deciding to roll a shield. He can do some Kree Captain stuff, but he can't get a fix at turn 1. Not with the current setup and with the current die roll and all of that. But he could do something like buy a Daisy Johnson and leave it in the used pile so that you can Clayface it in next turn. You could also Kree Captain, just buy the Kree Captain and then leave that in and Clayface it next turn. Looks like he's going to buy Shriek.
Gonna buy Shriek first, which
it's a solid purchase.
Yeah, really never a bad play.
We have seen a lot of Venerable Dreadnought, more than I would have expected. But it is a very good card, so it's not surprising, right?
Yeah, Dreadnought plus wide boards kind of ruled yesterday. Going to use that Mjolnir Global to spin the sidekick to a bolt. Purchase a throne brick. We got the, we have the...
Old school PXG move 2 dice into the prep.
There you go.
And then he's going to Atlas Global to prep a die and fix those 2 actions that he's purchased into the bag so that he can roll everything that he's looking for next turn. Gotta love the first turn Shriek, right?
There you go. We got Robert over here. Got another sidekick. Probably not going to be keeping that one for now. We'll see what he chooses to go for purchase-wise. Shriek is an interesting first buy because it requires such a hefty decision. It almost hinders what you're going to do next because you don't know if Shriek's going to roll. Does that make sense?
Sure. And because it's so early, you don't necessarily know what you need to Shriek right away, right?
Exactly.
Which is kind of the interesting give and take. Shriek is great when you know exactly what you need to use it for, not so much when you are so early in the game that nothing is hit.
Or if there's nothing in the field. You know, if you field your Shriek
sure.
and then it's wide open, you're like, well, what might you purchase that's going to be threatening?
Look at this roll. This is such a solid roll. Now, remember, he can also pull the sidekick in the field down into the reserve by using the Mjolnir Global, giving him 5 energy, which would mean he could something like Mjolnir Global, buy like a Kree Captain, bring it in, and do stuff that way. But instead of that, he's just going to pick up a Daisy Johnson and Rez, or Cake, it looks like. No, maybe Rez is on the other team. Or Atlas Global, that's the one.
Atlas.
He used Atlas Global.
Atlas for a fist.
So he brings the Atlas Global into play there so that he can guarantee what he's drawing as well. Because, of course, you can do that wonderful move where you get the 5 dice. Atlas Global, 1 of them out of the bag. 4 dice are guaranteed to roll next turn. It's my favorite play in all of Dice Masters.
Super good bag management. Over to Lucan. He does have both of his actions he's purchased. The blue one is the throne brick, and the orange one's really the one that he wants to get this turn.
His misdirection, yeah.
Wants to misdirect in something that he purchases this turn, which is, I think, going to be the play.
That's what he got. There's no utility in keeping that or rolling that throne brick to get it on the bolt face because it'll ping out a sidekick and then not prep itself.
Unless he also got misdirection, right? So if you misdirect in something, then throne brick it, but
Sure.
That was a 50-50 2 times.
You'd have to pay a lot for those characters, though. He was able to pick up a Wonder Woman, which is going to shut off when fielded and when attacks abilities, and then misdirect it into the field, switching a sidekick out for the Wonder Woman.
So Shriek will not trigger because she has a when-fielded ability. But Daisy could be used to remove Wonder Woman, I suppose.
Daisy is a win attacks ability as well. So you'd have to pair that with some form of removal. I don't know, like a Shriek maybe? Maybe you could Shriek like a Wonder Woman. Seems pretty decent.
Or get your Staff of Forgotten one and just ping it out with Magic Missile. Because again, until Wrecker, I think
That
until
is true.
Wrecker comes out, that should be the #1 removal here.
Well, technically, let's see. Is there any way to buff his characters? It doesn't look like there's a way to buff his characters. So he would have to sort of win with either just pushing just numbers or pushing Mr. Fix-It damage.
Yep.
So we have to keep our eye out to see if he's leaning one way or the other, which is exactly what they're doing in the game as well. Which way is he leaning? Is he just going to buy more low-drop characters, or is he actually going to try to reach for Fix-It, which is a 6-drop?
Yeah, I mean, I think both players are here for a grindy match, right? I don't think either one of these teams is going to really sneak up on you and make it happen. There is potential with this misdirection and Dum Dum to get a little bit out of hand.
Well, we've also seen Dreadnought just go off, too. We've seen that occur.
Right, but we'll see it coming from a couple turns away.
Exactly. If he buys it right here, then we have to start worrying as Robert. Oh, he's got the pieces in place, and now he can just kill my board because I only have sidekicks.
Yep.
So let's see what he goes for here. He's re-rolling the Throne Brick. It does have a target now, and it's going to prep itself and prep a die. So this is a great time to purchase something. Actually, it's not going to matter. In this instance, there's 2 dice in his bag.
He's going to assign that 1 damage from Throne Brick to to Robert's character. But if it does not kill its target, then you get to prep Throne Brick and an additional die. Super great.
And there's the Wrecker purchase. We've been talking about it this whole game.
Yikes.
So picking up Wrecker means that the traditional method of winning with Fix-It, the Magic Missile variant, is just not going to work until we remove that Wrecker.
Yep,
Blanket, something like that.
Yep, Wrecker says if you'd like to play globals, they must be on your active character dice cards.
Yep.
So, Magic Missile not being a character that can be active, you will never, as long as Wrecker's in the field, be using that global.
Correct.
That also applies to both players. So Lucan's sort of tying his own hands, but I think that was part of the plan. I think he's built this team in regards to, I don't need global help after Wrecker hits the field.
That's 100% right. And it's interesting, too, because if you really think about it, unless you do the 5 to 4 sort of bag management trick where you use Atlas every turn and only purchase one thing, your bag management sort of kind of collapses into the mid game anyway, for the most part, with those powerful old global abilities not being in existence anymore. You can just turn it off in the mid game. Turn off those and say, whatever, I can just keep my field lean by fielding all my sidekicks and do my purchasing that way rather than managing my bag through global portions. So that looks like how he's built his team. Lucan's sort of teched that way.
Yeah, you can definitely take off with a hot start, use those globals to get you maybe an advantage, or at least just to get your ball rolling, right? Let's say you and your opponent are still neck and neck turn 3. You haven't really pushed an advantage yet, but at least you're at turn 3 with 5 characters. You have progressed the game that far that now there are more moving parts. There's more factors involved. There's more opportunities for misplays, et cetera, et cetera. So super quality that Wrecker didn't come out first here because I think Lucan needed it until now, like you said.
Yeah.
But now he's okay with losing it. Robert with some decisions here. He's trying to figure out how he's going to react to this control, this oppression that is about to begin between the Wonder Woman and Wrecker.
Yeah.
He's going to be without many options.
Now, can we assume that he has shrieked the Wonder Woman on the other side? Can we make that assumption? Because until we switch back, which we will do in a moment, if there's not a token on that, then we'll have to assume that, or I'll have to go over and double check which is shrieked.
Well, Wonder Woman was out prior to Shriek, so her when fielded would not trigger. So I think Shriek is just a character in the field currently.
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it stops when field and when attacks. You're right. You're correct.
So Shriek is just plain stats right now.
That's true. So in this scenario, when you've turned off Fix-It through Magic Missile means, you do have to reach for Staff of the Forgotten One, which makes a ton of sense if you can also pair it with a ping. And right now you can't because the Daisy Johnson is backed off.
But Mjolnir.
Right, so you'd have to buy 2 actions in this scenario and then
agree.
roll them on the same turn. So he's buying Kree Captain, which is very interesting because he bought the 2-drop Kree Captain. It's not the one that gets buffed for villains.
Interesting. Maybe he's just thinking, I need to get wide so that when Dreadnought comes through, I've got.
That would be a pretty good thought. And it is coming through soon. Now here's the re-roll on the Wrecker.
This
didn't come
is
up the
so
first
critical.
time. Let's see what happens. Oh, and it does
Double
not come
fist.
up. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world because he can do some other stuff with misdirection and
Kree Captain Global.
Kree Captain Global and Throne Brick, right? So let's see. His bag's pretty lean with 3 sidekick dice in it and probably nothing else if I remember his purchases correctly.
I think that
Just
is true.
3. So he's going to prep one of those dice, dropping it to 2. He's going to be able to buy another Wrecker and then misdirect it in, which is what I was thinking he might do. Looks like that is what he's going to do. So at this point, even though he had purchased one already, at the very least he can guarantee, oh, I got that in the field, we're good to go. That's the beauty of a 2-cost misdirection, right?
Yep, and on these exact 2 teams, in this exact matchup, fists are really good, right? You have the Atlas, well, before Wrecker was fielded, you had the Atlas Global And you could use fists for the Kree Captain Global. So yeah, missing that, all in all, not a big deal. Having 2 wreckers later in the game, not ultra critical, but it is, it's another range that gets gifted by Dreadnought, which sometimes that's just what it comes down to.
And I think we actually did see a slight misplay there in that he did the misdirection first and then used some sort of a global to prep that first die. I'm not sure if that was exactly what I saw, but it appeared to be that way. Nevertheless, if both players don't catch it, then play resumes as normal. Now he's gone ahead and reached for the fix-it, which is what you need to do with this team. It appears that's exactly what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So the control is in place from Lucan.
You know what? It was on the misdirection. You prep a die with the burst double burst.
On the burst double burst, that's correct.
So he did not indeed do that. He did play it the correct way.
We apologize.
I bring it up because I've actually done that in the opposite order before, where I've played Wrecker, shut off all globals, or played Blackbird,
tried to end
shut
your
off
turn
the
with
global that I wanted to use, and then try to use the exact global.
Yep. Throne Brick, a real hero here, coming back for the 3rd time. Again, that card's value just continues to rise every time you roll it. As a 2 cost, it is so strong.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we have not seen him purchase Venerable Dreadnought yet.
Correct.
So this could be that moment. If he's got 2 fists and a shield, which is exactly what he's holding, this is the moment where you do want to grab that, because look at his field.
But he can't use the Kree Captain Global.
It's 5 characters wide, so he's going to pay that. Yep.
Going to have to pay the full 4.
The full thing.
But he did have 4 there.
Yep.
So we're looking at every single one of Lucan's purchases except for Misdirection right now.
Oh, he made such a good play picking up the Scarlet Witch, because he understood what we understand, in that the only way to get out of this sort of soft lock with the Wonder Woman is for you to roll a Mjolnir Staff of the Forgotten One sort of combo.
Yep.
Because you can't Shriek here. Shriek doesn't do you any good. And you can't remove the Wonder Woman through traditional means of pinging it out or anything like that. So
yeah. So with the action hate of Scarlet Witch, it's going to be really hard to have Staff of Forgotten One and Mjolnir happen. Which, props to Lucan for seeing the future, knowing that was pretty much the only out. Like I'm trying to look over Robert's team here, and unless something shifts in a major way,
this might just become a wall-up kind of a game, because he recognizes I just need stats in play to stop the range from just killing me. Might just end up being something like that. But this is not a... based on these 2 team lists, this may not be obviously a great winnable matchup for Robert if he doesn't sort of luck into something like rolling the actions that he purchases twice in a row.
Both of them twice in a row.
Because it's Scarlet Witch, right?
But crazier things have happened.
Yeah. It's doable.
It's doable.
It's the worst feeling in the world when you've invested into Scarlet Witch and you feel, aha, I'm secure, and then they just double roll the actions they need. Oh,
right.
You just did it. Oh, man.
And one thing about the matchup thus far, they're on equal footing in terms of winning the game, right? Lucan is not in the direction of winning the game currently. He's just in the direction of not losing the game. So, again, crazy things can happen. We'll see what happens in the rolls here. Finally, Throne Brick misses for Lucan. He's not going to get to do that, but he does get that misdirection, which is potentially even more harmful, especially with 4 energy.
He's going to pay 4 for Venerable Dreadnought, misdirected in, and he could actually just push right now. That would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 character dice, pushing 7 range damage, and he doesn't even have to push all of it. He could just push a sidekick and start.
Yeah, and again, you have that extra wrecker. I mean, if you think he could literally win this game by range damage and pushing through his extra wrecker every time.
Well, really, it's just 3-4 attacks in a row, just clearing the board constantly. Eventually, those numbers dwindle from just not being re-rolled on the re-roll
so
stat.
True.
And he just wins on physical damage going forward. I very much think he's in the driver's seat, good to go, cruising down.
What I just said about not being in the posture of winning this game is absolutely false at this point now.
I would certainly 100% agree that he's sort of in the driver's seat going forward. He's not going to push, though. That's kind of interesting. Not pushing, it means that he's just biding his time. I think not pushing means he's letting more time go by for something to kind of come up for Rob, which is kind of dangerous. Rob does roll the 3-1 side, the free-to-field side on the Kree Captain, and a sidekick as well, which does buffer his board.
Yeah, board presence really important here for Robert, just to withstand the barrage of range damage. Dreadnought is warming up indeed. Robert trying to figure out these last 2 bolts. Without, again, they'd be great to use with the Magic Missile Global if there wasn't a wrecker or 2 across the field from him. Gonna just pass to Lucan, it seems. Lucan pulls 2 from his bag, reloads. And really the dagger here is if he rolls Scarlet Witch here, that's really the dagger. Just being twisted between the ribs of Robert. Without Scarlet Witch, we are much more likely to get that Staff Forgotten one.
There it is.
And I speak again.
8
and
character dice in the field, that pushes 8 damage. If my memory serves me correct, he had 2 sidekicks, a Shriek, 3-1 Kree captains, and something else. So it's very manageable for him to ping most of the thing out. He is going to prep with the Throne Brick. You know, this is such a tough matchup for Rob, mainly because Rob's playing the exact team that Lucan played last year in Worlds and piloted all the way to 2nd place. Not the exact piece for piece, but playing that win condition and in that way, I feel like Lucan knows exactly how he's played it in the past. So it's extremely tough for Rob to throw something like tricky at him because Lucan's one of those players where he's just going to know exactly what that team wants to do and how to stop it. Oh, he had the other...
Here's the other
Johnson,
wrecker.
Whatever her name is.
Daisy Johnson.
Daisy Johnson.
He does attack with the other wrecker. Again, this is like an auxiliary piece at this point, because once you have 1 wrecker in the field, you have that effect. So this is just going to be stats that can go through. You know,
it's funny here. He's going to let that go through. He could have just decided to chump block, and it again wouldn't have mattered because even if he felt it or fielded it again, it's not going to do anything. That Shriek.
Yes, Shriek has been nullified by the Wonder Woman.
And I think this is what we were referring to last turn. Now that he's got 1 thing on the board and all of those things KO'd, he's going to need to refield his board really quickly. Otherwise, he's just going to take all of the damage.
Yeah, Fix It is gonna soak up a whole mess of that range damage. But with that Dum-Dum that just got purchased by Lucan, it's going to become harder to block all of the threats.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing. Yes, you'll assign all that range damage to Fix It, and Fix It might be huge, but he's a blocker, and he's only 1 blocker. If you've got numbers on the board, you can only block the number of character dice you have to block with.
Yep. Rolling another Kree Captain here would be awesome.
And we do notice that the Kree Captain that is on Robert's team is a 2-cost Kree Captain that only has the global. It's not the 3-cost that gets villain buff. So it is literally just the stats printed on the card. This is not the one that gets bigger and bigger, which might have served him better in this scenario, but makes sense for his team because sometimes you do need that 2-cost fist pump so that you can buy it on turn 1 and then Kree Captain it, or Clayface it into Kree Captain. Yeah, this is a tough scenario. He's only got 3 blockers, and there's more than enough characters on the other side of the field to ping out the 2 small ones.
Yep, and again, having 1 blocker is great, but when you're being attacked by 10 characters...
it doesn't do
not
as
much
does
matters. Yeah, super hard. I mean, again, there's no trickery that could happen here with Lucan having the knowledge of this team. And
he
really,
picks up another, or he decides to pick up a misdirection.
So really, it's the control pieces on Lucan's team, and the order that he put them down was also very important.
It was crisp. It was very crisp.
He got that Wonder Woman down the turn before Shriek came out, because Shriek was going to be a real game changer for Rob. Next came Wrecker, and then finally the Scarlet Witch. Again, the dagger shut down the Staff of Forgotten One Mjolnir combo.
This is a solid buy order. So now we're just looking for ways to not die as Robert to Lucan's push coming soon.
I feel like it is Rob's team is going to come down to I just need to keep purchasing characters and keep rolling characters. And eventually my board will be bigger than the sidekicks of Lucan's team.
But that's the problem. His bag is upside down. He's only drawing 4 dice because the ramp is turned off. I mean, there's not a lot of outs going forward for him, and he's just going to have to somehow not die this turn and then get lucky the following 2 subsequent turns
Oh
if
my.
damage is pushed.
Misdirection happens again. I think we're going to see another Dum-Dum here, and he will not be able to block 2 Dum-Dums.
That's exactly what we might see. Now, Dum-Dum's not in the field currently.
Oh, right. I thought he had one in his roll, but no. But regardless.
Oh, goodness gracious. More sidekicks, more damage.
Yeah, what a roll.
It is crazy. So, yep, you've got the 2 for Dum-Dum. You can misdirect it in. That Dum-Dum is huge. Let's see, what would the Dum-Dum be? It gets +1 attack for each of your sidekick dice in the field zone. So if he misdirects out a sidekick and in the Dum-Dum, which it looks like what he's going to do.
Yeah, you can't lose any of those control pieces up there.
+4 attack. +4 attack seems pretty good. Pulls the sidekick. +4 attack, so it looks like that's a 2/2. Then +4 attack is a 6 attack. So if you push everything, it almost just KOs everything. It's very close to KOing the 7/7 plus the other 2 blockers. How bonkers is that? That's
Also,
so
he
many
has
characters
thrown
to
brick
put in.
damage here, so that's +1.
Oh,
It's
that's
like
true.
essentially another range damage if he
1,
so
2, 3,
chooses
4,
to use
5,
it that
6,
way.
7, 8, 9 characters in the field, 10 damage you can do. So you could KO the 7/7
And a
fix
daisy,
it,
but
and the daisy or the shriek. You could pick. So you
Yep.
can't wipe the entire board.
I think if it's not the turn, it's not the turn. And I think, you can just keep misdirecting in Dum-Dums, and then eventually you'll have more Dum-Dums than blockers.
Looks like he's 2 off, if
Yep.
I'm counting correctly. The die sides, those little die things are so hard to read zoomed out, but
right on cue. Ryan switches
Yeah.
to the close-up here
Ryan's
on the
the
field
man.
zone
That
and
dude's the
attack
best.
zone.
so that's a 6. We can kind of assume that. He's just going to push that one. That makes sense. And then probably KO the 2 blockers. Oh, no, he's going to change his mind and push the sidekick. Nope, he's going to change his mind. So, yeah, just push the...
Right,
push
he wants
that
to
one.
keep those sidekicks in the field for misdirection targets as well as buffs for his Dum-Dums.
That's exactly right. I think pushing this one's better because you have a 3 and 6 chance of rolling it again. Whereas you don't if you put a sidekick out there and it gets KO'd.
I feel like Rob has to block
Yeah,
it.
you have to block that because if you reduce that damage. So all characters KO'd. It's smart to KO the fix-it here and just KO the whole board because you got to pay a ton to field it.
Oh, yeah. And, again, the beauty of this game is forcing your opponent into terrible decisions. Like, do you take 6 there, or do you knock out your Shriek and pay to refield it again with all of these characters that you must roll this turn? It is a must-do. He gets 2 characters on his first roll. Really,
We
in
might be
order
in that
to not
scenario
die,
where it's biding time at this point.
Yeah.
You're just sort of treading water because the lock is full and complete. I mean, the best you could hope for maybe is like buy the magic missile and just
I think the best you could
Pray.
hope for is rolling Staff and Mjolnir on their character or
Yeah.
burst phase twice.
But he hasn't even bought the Mjolnir.
Right.
Man. So he's got, let's see, he's got enough to field all characters, which is good.
Right,
And
that
you've
was
got
pretty good
4
roll all in all.
You've got 4 characters, so you got a chip, a chair, and a prayer. I don't think you ever drop here. I don't think you ever sort of buy out. I think you just play it and just keep trying
Yep.
to
Do
to
the
get
things you can
yourself.
do. I mean, Rob's playing it to the best of his ability. It's just the majority of his cards are legitimately nullified.
Are locked. Yep, that's exactly right. Oh, and with second Dum-Dum right here. Like
yeah,
you
this.
were saying, this
Yep.
is. This could be enough damage
he
to
doesn't have
push it.
misdirection. I was thinking he would pull a third in, which would be really rowdy.
So the crowbar, you can probably toss that one in favor of the 2 Dum-Dums. Let's see. He's just going to keep it all.
Characters are characters,
Characters are characters.
Indeed.
But paying for characters is also kind of important as well.
But
He's
we have
gonna
to
pay a
think
shield
he doesn't
to
want to
field.
lose sidekicks, so this Wrecker is a perfect attacker.
I think now we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 characters to assign damage with, and he
Which
has 7, 8, 9, 10,
is
11.
12.
Oh, so he has the
The throne
ability
brick
to
could have
leave
been-
the sidekick. The throne brick would have been a full push lethal.
lethal.
But it might still be lethal. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. If the
True.
sidekick, the single sidekick blocks the biggest, you're still looking at a 4. It looks like that's a 4 topside 4 attack wrecker. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus that's actually just it, I think.
With only one blocker
3 plus 2
remaining.
is 5. Yeah,
Dum-Dum is +5.
yeah. And
Everything
so
else
that would be the
adds
one that
to
you
at
block.
least.
I think he's just counting it up, and he's going to come to that same conclusion here.
Buys a Staff of Forgotten One. Interesting.
Oh, is that just a flex? No, that's not a flex.
I don't
maybe,
know.
Maybe he just doesn't see something we
He's
see, or
like,
maybe
I'm
we're
gonna
seeing it
remove
wrong.
11 characters when this rolls, if you so had 11
Oh
characters.
man, that's insane. Let's see. Assuming that the Dum Dum is the biggest, and that's the block there.
But you can push with the extra wrecker. You're gonna get some
You
damage.
push
here.
with everything, and you probably deal enough, right?
I'm saying even if it's short, you can still get something here because there will only be one blocker
Sure.
remaining.
Sure. So he's going to only push with one. Interesting.
Wild card. He's gonna attack with Dreadnought.
So we must just be missing it then.
Yeah, I think he's a smidge off. He's still doing some maths here. There you go. He assigns all that range damage. Sidekick is the only thing left. It is gonna block the Dum Dum.
Interesting. Because Robert is at 17.
Yeah, I couldn't get the character faces there to really count it up, but we couldn't have been off by more than one or two. There's no way.
Well, it seemed like he had something in the range of 23, but
Somewhere
that's got to be inaccurate if the lethal wasn't pushed. Or
Right.
We all just missed something. Nevertheless, he's got to roll characters, period, end of story. He's even got to roll sidekicks. At this
I was
point,
about to say, you need literally everything here.
11 characters in the field on the other side of things is just prohibitively
Even just without Fix It
difficult.
here, it's just not happening. Even if you're, oh my,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
unfortunate.
And that's just going to be like a
Well
straight
fought,
up,
Rob.
You just pass it over and watch the fireworks at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe you buy Fix It.
Yeah,
No, they're
that's
just gonna
it.
shake it out
That's
because we
it.
know we just passes back over.
Well
and-
played to
and
both.
pops it, because that's gonna be insane damage.
It is
Insane
so
amounts of damage.
disheartening
Pretty
to play a
impressive.
matchup like that where
Indeed.
the majority,
Yep.
and not just a few of Rob's cards, I'm saying the majority of his cards were totally nullified.
Yeah.
Especially by the purchase order of Lucan.
That's the
Like,
biggest thing. It's the purchase order that was chosen and selected and put out there that really did it up.
Right, and I mean, let's say misdirection doesn't roll on turn 2. That game goes totally differently because Shriek
Indeed
will
it
come
does.
out.
Indeed it does.